Mr. P, I hope this message finds you well. I need some advice and you're someone I really admire, so I thought I'd reach out. Here's my situation. I've been thinking about moving to the city to explore new opportunities. A friend offered me a place to stay, which makes it a bit easier and very tempting. But I'm torn. I grew up poor and my family struggled a lot. I've always wanted to do something big, not just for me, but to help them too. This move could mean a better life and a chance to break out of the cycle of poverty. At the same time, my hometown means everything to me. Every street and every corner has a memory attached to it. My parents are here and they've sacrificed so much for me. The thought of leaving them behind terrifies me. What if something happens and I'm not there to help? Plus, what if I fail? What if I can't make it in the city and end up worse off than before? I know I sound scared, and maybe I am. The city feels like this big unknown full of potential but also full of risk. I don't want to disappoint my family, but I also don't want to look back one day and regret not taking this chance. I'm so confused. Do you think I should go for it and move, or stay where things are familiar and safe? Thank you so much for any advice you can give. I think that this is very exciting. You are standing at a very exciting point in your life where you're about to make a big decision. And it might not seem like such a big decision to somebody who's standing on the outside, because somebody might be wondering, what is the big deal about it? It's just moving. But I understand that when you come from a small town, when you come from a village, when you come from a place where you don't have access to all of these great opportunities, it's exciting to be able to get the opportunity to go outside and explore, to go and find out what's really possible, to go and find out what's out there. Before I say anything about whether you should go or you should not go, I think in yourself you already know. And I think that's the most fascinating thing about this. The fact that you already know what it is that you want to do. Growing up in a small town, I can tell you myself that the most important thing that I ever did for myself was to move out. It was to move, and it wasn't even for that long. I had stayed in a small town until I was an adult. And when I turned 18, I continued to stay there. Moved out of home, but stayed about 10 minutes away from home. And the move from home was a good one in the first place because it allowed me to grow. But from there to moving to a different city, to the big city where everything is fast paced and you are told about all of these opportunities, you're told about all of these amazing things that can happen for you. It's exciting. And at the same time, it's a bit intimidating because you don't know that life. You've never been in that environment. So I want to make 2 points to you before we get to you actually moving or not moving. I want to make something something clear, and we'll make a separate video on this. But it's very important to understand that it is your mindset that's going to determine what happens when you get out to the big city, or that's going to determine what becomes of your life, even if you stay where you are right now. I don't want to dispute the fact that it's important for you to move. But part of the reason why you would move in the first place is so that you would expose your mind to great opportunities. Because who knows, one day you might want to return to where you are from and you might want to do some great things where you're from. But the most important thing is your mindset. It is what you understand about life. And what has to be understood about life is that success is not in the big city. Success starts inside the person. Because there are people who are thriving in the small town, and there are people who are suffering in the big city. There are people who are living in the streets in the big city. I have seen people who have left small towns to move to the big city, and their lives amounted to nothing. And so I'm saying this to you so that you will understand in your own life that it's important for you to get your mind right. It's important for you to get your perspective right, and for you to assume that your success, your achievements, your prosperity will come from within. You're not going to search for it in the city. Whatever opportunities are out there, they will only mean something to you when you become the kind of person that you need to become to utilize those opportunities, because there are people who live in that same city who want the same thing that you want, and they don't have it. Now, I'm not saying this to discourage you moving. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this so that you will consider that as you get ready to make this move, because it sounds like you want to make the move, but as you get ready to make this move, you have to understand that your personal development has to be your highest priority. You becoming the kind of person that you need to become to access those opportunities, to utilize this great opportunity. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's not good enough for you to just say, I'm going to move to the big city and get all of these opportunities. There are people who live in the big city. There are people who grew up in the big city. Those who even ended up in the streets. And the reason for that is because they never became the kind of people who would have access to those opportunities. The opportunities are there. But I want you to understand that it starts with the man. It starts with you. It starts with how you see things. It starts with your development. And if you will grow on the inside, you will see that growth on the outside, no matter where you are. Now, of course, it is very important for you to consider, strongly consider, the possibility of you moving out to a bigger place. To a place where opportunities are abundant, but also to a place where you can be exposed to greater things. The most important thing for me in moving out of the small town to a big city was exposure. It wasn't necessarily the opportunities, but it was the exposure. It was learning how life can be, learning what is out there, learning what I can have access to. That was the most exciting thing about moving to a big city. And even today, I still have so many people who ask me, they want to move, they're not sure if they should move. And my instinctive response is always just go. Just go and find out what's out there. And you know what, if you do have such an attachment to the place where you grew up, if this is the place where you really want to live and raise a family, you can always come back. You can always come back. Just go and find out if you really want to live where you are right now, because you don't really know if you want to live in the small town where you grew up. You only know that you want to live there because that's where you grew up. You don't know this because you've had other options. So go out there, experience the world that is out there, and then make up your mind about whether you want to go back there or not. Because as you go out there, you might realize, you might discover that, oh, actually, I never really, no, that's not what I want. I don't want to go back there. And there's nothing wrong with you saying you don't want to go back there. Now, I want to tell you a little story that kind of puts this in perspective. I remember a couple of years ago, and of course, I wouldn't be a good motivational speaker if I didn't have a lion story. So I've got to have a lion story. And this is my lion story. So, you know, zone in and just zoom in and listen.
If the lion is the king of the jungle, how can he be the king of the jungle?
I remember a couple of years ago, I went to this lion park with this girl that I was dating at the time. She said, I want to see lions. I said, I'm here. She said, stop playing. I said, okay, cool. Let's go see some lions then. Of course, these lions are behind some kind of captivity. It's not, I wasn't going to go out there and touch the lions. I wasn't going to go out there and try to ride the lions. I wasn't going to do that. But we just saw them from a distance. And I still remember seeing all of these different animals as we make our way to where the lions are. We're seeing all of these different kind of wild cats, the smaller ones, different wild animals. And then in the distance, at the end of our journey, there he was, Mufasa, in all of his might, with an incredible mane. And there were some lionesses that were lying around as well. And I remember seeing this, I had these chills because I couldn't believe that it's that big. I couldn't believe that a lion is that big in real life. So I remember getting a bit nervous and unsettled, and we had a fence, a really high fence that was between us and the lions, but it was just a fence. And so I remember asking the guide, I said to him, hey, my man, let me just ask you a question. Is this fence safe? Is the fence safe? Because that's a big lion. And I've seen how these things move. I've seen how strong they are. I've seen them take down an elephant. So is the fence safe? I just want to know. And I remember he said something very important to me. He said to me, you don't have to worry about anything. Even if the fence was a bit lower, it wouldn't really matter because these lions grew up in captivity. They were not taken from the wild. They grew up in captivity. They grew up in this place where all they've ever known is the small environment that they live in. They've never been out there to hunt. They've never chased down an animal. We've always just came with some meat and fed them. They've always been behind a fence. They've always been here for other people's amusement so that people can just watch them. They've never known what it's like to run after an animal for kilometers and kilometers just so that they could eat. This is the life that they've always known. And he said something that was very interesting. He said, if we took a lion from the wild that grew up in the wild, that grew up hunting and running around and just living freely, he said if we took that lion and put it in captivity, this would not stand for long. He said it would take down the fence, or it would jump over the fence. It would go after whatever it sees on the other side of the fence that it wants. There would be nothing that we could do to stop it from getting to what it wants. And so he said the big difference is that this one grew up in captivity. It grew up not knowing how to hunt. He said, but the interesting thing is that within it, there is the instinct. The instinct is in there, but the environment doesn't allow for that instinct to be activated. The environment that it is in doesn't allow for it to be fully lion. Because if you put it in the wild, in a situation where it had to fend for itself, it would go out there and fend for itself. There's no difference between that lion and the lion that you see on National Geographic running after the zebra. There's no difference. The difference is how it grew up, is where it grew up. It is where it is, that confinement. And so I'm only saying this to you so that you will understand that for some people, the place where you grow up might be that confinement. And so within you, there is that killer instinct. There is the killer instinct within you, and you know that if you could just go out there, there is something within you that lets you know that if you were just in a different environment, you would be a whole different kind of animal. And so right now, you cannot be the beast that you really want to be because you've grown up in captivity. You don't know what it's like. You think that this fence is supposed to stop you. You think that it is normal for you to be behind the fence and just be there for other people's amusement. You don't know, you don't understand that you're a lion. You don't understand that those that are related to you, those that look just like you, are out there taking down buffaloes. You don't get that. Exciting news. Listen, I've got a new book out that is called Stay in Your Comfort Zone, The Mastery of Public Speaking. I know it sounds weird when I tell you to stay in your comfort zone because you would expect me to tell you to burst out of your comfort zone. But in this case, I am telling you to stay in your comfort zone. That, my friend, is the secret of every single great speaker. It's the fact that they speak from the comfort zone. It's the fact that they can be uniquely themselves. They're not trying to be someone else. They're not trying to be like someone else. And so I want you to get your hands on this book. If you want to improve as a speaker, if you want to upskill, if you want to equip yourself with some information about how it is that you can become an exceptional speaker, Stay in Your Comfort Zone is out right now, and I promise you that this is the book that you have been looking for. You don't get that in a different world, in a different environment, life could be very, very different. And so whether you should move or not, I want to just highlight something that is in this message. And it is this. I grew up poor and my family struggled a lot. I've always wanted to do something big, not just for me, but to help them too. This move, and I want you to get this move, could mean a better life and a chance to break out of the cycle of poverty. And so I ask you a question: if that's what you really think this move could be, then why not? Why not? If that's what you really believe this move could do for you, for your family, then why not? I don't think there's a reason for you to not go out there. I don't think there's a reason for you to not go and find out what you are truly capable of, because I can tell you right now that within you there is an instinct that has been suppressed by the environment that you are in. It's only when you go out there, when you find yourself in an environment where you don't have a choice but to be who you really are, that you will find out that you are capable. You will find out that you really are that man. You might not even know what you want to do right now, and that doesn't really matter. You say you got a place to stay. Say somebody offered you a place to stay. Just go. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? But you know what? Things don't work out, you'll always be able to go back home. But I want to tell you right now that as you go out there, that cannot be your mentality. You cannot have the mentality of the slaves that left Egypt saying, you know what, we should have stayed in Egypt. You can't do that. It's going to get rough. It's going to get challenging. It might take some time. But while you're out there, just understand that if you give yourself to it, there is nothing that you cannot do. There is nothing that you cannot attain. Anything is possible. So, you want to know if you should go out there. If I was in your position, I would have left. I would have left already. So if you are in that position, perhaps you are not the person that wrote this message, but you might just be whoever you are, wherever you are, and you're wondering to yourself, should I make the move? Should I go there? I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that this has given you something to think about. And just remember, you're going to be okay. Everything always works out.
When you change your thoughts, you change your life. This is Thoughts That Count with Poloko.